Welcome back, Nick Lenz's Comic Corner, Classics / Non-Classics. This is episode number 854 and Doubleshot number 748. Like I said in last episode, there's a controversial event in this trade I got here, and that is Avengers Disassembled. And believe it or not, this only came out 14 years ago. Around the same time I started reading comic books. Yep. A lot of people know about this particular storyline. Well, a lot of people around my age know about it. If you were just getting into comics, you're thinking, okay, you have Brian Michael Bendis, Avengers. What can go wrong in here? What happens? We have the Avengers head meeting, and then all of a sudden, like, Scott Lang notices somebody out. This is, of course, when Scott Lang was Ant-Man. This is actually, yeah, this storyline is infamous for killing off 3 characters. Yeah, at least. Yeah, 3 characters died in the storyline, though it takes a while for all 3 of these characters to come back. The Avengers being pretty much disassembled, and a lot of the stuff in here simply put some stuff been building up for the past few years, and of course, kind of abruptly cutting off a lot of storylines that have been happening at this particular point in time. And yes, there are tie-ins. I have reviewed at least 2 tie-ins so far. I reviewed one Fantastic Four and Iron Man. I have not reviewed one yet. I have not reviewed the one for Captain America, Thor, or Spectacular Spider-Man. This is the main story for this one. The other one just ties this one. And this one at the time was the first big event storyline since Maximum Security involving the Marvel Universe. Though mainly just involved Avenger titles, but the first, let's just say, having a limited series and having tie-ins to it, that would not happen until the following year with House of M. By the way, this book actually sets up House of M, believe it or not. Yep, we have Jack of Hearts, who actually recently died prior to this. Yeah, you have to read pretty much like a lot of this particular third volume, which lasted from 1988 to 2004. And Jack of Hearts comes back as a zombie, and then he just explodes, killing Scott Lang. This death will basically stay in effect for about 10 years. Yeah. This death will stay in effect for about... Actually, no, it wasn't 10 years. It was like 8 years. Yeah, this death basically would stick. As for Jack of Hearts, he would come back, I think it was close to a little over 10 years later in the Marvel Zombie Supreme miniseries, was brought back by Project Pegasus, of all things, to take on zombie versions of the Squadron Supreme. Yeah. And who are the other 2 deaths in here? We have the Vision, who gets killed by She-Hulk after he goes frickin' nuts. Yeah. He stays dead for 7 years. Gets brought back at the Fear itself. And there is one other death in here. A death that was actually the shortest term death of the entire storyline. The death of Hawkeye. This lasted for about a year, and then he was brought back in House of M. Yep. How did he die? Well, flying on a jetpack and blowing himself up with a Kree ship. Yeah, it's like Bendis was storing almost everything when it comes to the Avengers 500 issue. We have an explosion in the mansion. We have Tony Stark having supposedly acting drunk in front of the UN, and apparently directing his repulsor at the Latvian ambassador. And because of that, he lost his position as Secretary of Defense. He was told to resign, despite the fact he wasn't drinking at all at this point. Yeah. Those of you wondering, like, how in the world did Tony Stark become Secretary of Defense? Read the Best Defense storyline, which was written by John Miller, I think it was. Yeah, he was the second. I think he was the last writer for Volume 3 of Iron Man. That one was a 80. I'm trying to remember. I think it was an 80 on the issue volume. It happened like about 5 years into the title. I've actually owned one of the issues of it. It's actually a pretty dang good story. Yeah, Tony Stark becoming Secretary of Defense. Those of you wondering about that little Easter egg from Iron Man 2 about Tony Stark, like, I'll take a nomination for Secretary of Defense. Yeah, that happened in the pages of Iron Man. And of course, there's this explosion because the Avengers because the mansion was blown up, and then basically the UN acting like a bunch of dicks, cut off their support for Avengers. Yeah, they cut their sponsorship for the Avengers for like really no reason. at all. I'm like, seriously, dudes? What the heck is your problem? Yes. Oh yeah, and who's behind everything in here? Why, it's the Scarlet Witch having a meltdown. All because she thought the Avengers took her kids. Kids she conjured up out of nothing. Yes. Who were basically reincarnated from two souls. Though this particular plot point we later found out by Young Avengers by having two characters, Wiccan and Speed, who just, well, Wiccan, of course, was later out of this game. Wiccan and Speed is just a parents-wide, just a carbon copy version of his uncle, Quicksilver. They do eventually meet Scarlet Witch in the Avengers Turn to Crusade series, which was not written by Ben. This was written by somebody, I don't remember who wrote it, but it was a damn good series. Yeah, it took like 2 years to release 9 issues because of delays and the fact the book was published every couple months. And that pretty much also undid the death of Scott Lang by having, get this, the Young Avengers time travel to this very story, taking him out of the event, and of course Jack of Hearts still killing himself. Yeah, but this storyline set the stage for a lot of the big Marvel stuff for Bendis anyways, for the Avengers, for the next 7, for at least next 8 years related to Avengers stuff. This pretty much directly started Bendis' run on the Avengers. This later led to his successful 5-year run on New Avengers, and of course the book being brought back in 2010. The Avengers title itself remained a canceled title for 6 years. Yep. And of course we had the Avengers disbanding, going their separate ways, and of course they come back 6 months later. But this pretty much the storyline just collects issues 500 to 503 and the Avengers Finale. Yeah, one of 2 finales that Bendis wrote for Avengers. The other was New Avengers Finale, which came out in 2010, though it later led to a relaunch of New Avengers. It's just not a bad story, it's just really epic in scale. It's just that the whole revelation of Scarlet Witch behind everything, yeah, that was kind of dumb. Aside from that, this is a not bad story. Because it pretty much ends the era of Avengers. It ends the Avengers era. Like a long-standing era. Like at this point, it's been going on for at least for 41 years. My guess is from Bendis' perspective, the Avengers need a fresh start. So he basically had this big humongous story, and then just, oh yeah, and also because of all the stuff going on there, in the actual, like, they had like every single Avenger show up for these last few issues. I thought that was a really nice touch on everybody. All the Avengers are still alive anyways. Yeah, because about half the Avengers have since died. You know what didn't show up in here was Hercules. Yeah, I didn't see him show up in here at all. And the artwork in here is done by David Finch. I have met David Finch. Fantastic artist. Fantastic guy to meet. The other artists in here are... oh, there's a bunch of them in here. Like, David Finch does basically the main story. But here are the artists for the Avengers Finale. Aside from David Finch, Alex, I've met him too. Very nice guy. He's known Bendis for 15 years. Fantastic guy. He's known for working Bendis on Daredevil. Steve Epting, Lee Weeks, Michael Gardos, who actually is the artist for Alias, who basically drew the entire Alias series, and he drew Jessica Jones, the recent series. We have Derek Robinson, Mike Mayhew, David Mack, Gary Frank. Fantastic artist he is. He's noteworthy for doing the Superman Secret Origin miniseries with Jeff Johns. Fantastic thing. I love that one. We also have Michael Von Kimming, Jim Coving, Steve McNiven. I have met this guy. This guy also later on, about 2 years after this, would work on Civil War 1. George Perez, Mike Perkins, one of the inkers on here. And the cover for the last issue was done by Neil Adams and Laura Martin. I know for a fact that not a lot of people like this story mainly because what was happening with the Scarlet Witch, and this is basically just set up for House of M. I actually kind of like it. To me, it's not that bad of a story as everyone tends to put it out to be. I'm going to give this roughly a 9 out of 10. We'll give it 9.5, but people would chastise me for giving that particular name for that particular one. Next up, it is Hawkeye, Volume 3, LA Woman. It's been a while since I've talked about a trade for Hawkeye Volume 4. Yeah, this one collects Hawkeye Volume 4 issues 14, 16, 18, 20, and the annual. Written by Matt Fraction. Artwork by Ann Wu. who's the artist in the main series. Javier Prieto does the annual. Yeah, L.A. Woman. Here's the thing about this title. Now, it was basically, now the annual came out. I remember when it was July of 2013 when this annual came out. It came out the same month as issue 12, and right after this annual came out, that's when the delays started with this book. That pretty much caused the book delayed for another 2 years. And like every several months, we have more issues coming out. And every other issue, starting issue 14, it was just like every other issue. It was simply a Kate Bishop book. Yeah, and some people like saying like, why didn't you just give Kate Bishop her own book anyways? And she eventually did get one last year, which got canceled this year after 16 issues. Though that was written by Kelly Thompson. Though the Hawkeye, Kate Bishop herself, says it's now part of the West Coast Avengers. Or revived West Coast Avengers. Yeah. It seems like a lot of like series of events just happens in these particular issues. We have Kate Bishop in LA, trying to start up her own hero for hire business, not really much going in place. Helps a gay couple with recover the missing flowers. She can't find the missing flowers, but she did help save their wedding. And of course, she gets her own villain in this storyline, Madame Mask. This is probably the first time I can think of that they've actually met each other. Those of our Madame Mask is she's an Iron Man villain. My friend Edgar doesn't have a problem with her pop up in Hawkeye because, well, even though she's associated with Iron Man, he doesn't have a problem with it, from what I can tell, because, well, why not? Kate Bishop needs her own villain, so why not still an Iron Man villain? Though Madame Mask is also known for being one of Iron Man's many love interests over the years. And I keep wondering, though, like, why can't Marvel allow Iron Man to get married? Yeah, it's never been answered. Yeah, and there's also Detective Pearson here, who appears only in issues, and when Kate Bishop goes back to LA last year, this particular character does not come back at all. Nope. Yeah, they replace him with a woman who becomes simply a recurring character in her book for pretty much the entire 16-issue run. Yeah, and Kate Bishop, when she went to LA, she was pretty much near broke. And I'm like, okay, you went to LA with no money, and you also took Lucky. You also took the dog Lucky with you. And Clint points out, though, yeah, there was a joke in here about Clint. He pops up just for the aliens, pops up for the rest of the issues, where he says, "What are you, my ex-girlfriend, taking my dog?" I thought that was so funny. I love the fact she even got her own car. Yeah. Oh, and who is this guy here in the corner? We have Madame Mask right here. Who is this guy over here? That is a character named Harold. Some people are thinking, why in the world does this guy have three? Why you say his name 3 times? That is actually his name. Harold. For years he was known as Harold H. Harold. He's a character who was created by Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan back in the late 70s. This character, prior to this particular storyline, last appeared in a Doctor Strange issue back in the mid-80s. Yeah, this is the first time in nearly 30 years this guy had shown up. And yeah, there's a subplot involving him and the Frost family. Well, counting the Farty and Madame Mask, where there was a conspiracy to keep him in LA. He's tried frequently to leave LA. He's tried walking out of LA. He tried to take a plane. He's tried to rent. And every time he keeps getting dragged back to LA for like no reason at all. Yeah, this particular plot thread goes nowhere. Because after these issues, Harold H. Harold is never seen again. And this only came out 5 years ago. Yep. And of course, the reason why Kate went to LA, because she wanted to establish an identity of her own as Hawkeye, though she never puts on the costume, and she was tired of Clint moping. Yep. But this book is really, really good. I'm going to get this book a 9.5 out of 10. Still one more trade left to review for that particular run. And no, I do not have it yet. I'm planning to get the other stuff for this particular series. I mean, this is only my second Hawkeye trade I own. I plan to get more soon in the near future because I like Hawkeye. He's a fantastic character. And I like Kate Bishop too. She's a great character as well. And I kind of wish that Marvel would do a little bit more with her instead of just putting her in a group book or like giving her a solo book. Her solo book was fantastic. And Marvel just cuts off at the 16 issues. Maybe did low sales, but I even tweeted Kelly Thompson about I told her basically I was sad to see the Kate Bishop Hawkeye series go because it was so good. I loved it. What was wrong with having a series where you have an archer who fights bad guys and operates a PI out of a major city? Now, when I saw the concept, I'm like, man, Marvel just took basically an idea from Xenoscope and made that with Kate Bishop instead of being based in New York, she's based out of LA. That is my only thing when it comes to that. So that's it for this particular review. Stay tuned for my next review, which is my last comic I plan to do today, and this is gonna be on 2 Iron Man trades. Yep, and we're going back to Karen Gillian, and you'll find out what it is next episode. Okay, but until see you all there, bye.